Wilma, hooer for a little hat. It's been a while since... Oh, hey, hi, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, and before I get started, I just want to send a little shout out to my tipper-doos. Darren Fancy, how are you, darling? I promise to have some new sewing tutorials soon. Please accept my apologies. Something's been a little busy, I'm just saying. Denise Gerneau, artist extraordinaire. Thank you, my darling. Erica Fulton, aka Schmerica Rules, longtime viewer, first-time tipper-doo. Thanks, doll, seriously. Peter Borgeson, you're welcome for the joy, Peter. It's my pleasure to give it to you. Sounds dirty. Elaine Alden and Sawyer Rankin. Thank you, dolls, for tipping me. I couldn't do the show without you. Now, Jorge, drink me. Ooh, there's something else I can't do the show without. A lovely cocktail. Thank you, Jorge. So serious. What is it? What is it? We've got a lovely little delicious Mandarin club soda and some Canadiana liquor from the Moonshine Creek Distilleries in Canada. Delish. What? Oh, Jorge would also like me to send a little thank you out to my Patreoner, Richard, for sending Jorge some much needed paper umbrellas. Not that they're a linchpin to a better life, but they certainly brighten up the life you're living, I'm just gonna say to you right now. Plus, I don't know if you noticed, we've been using the same one for the last couple of weeks. So thank you, Richard, on behalf of Jorge. Seriously. Even tastes better. Now, let's get to it. Right away, who else noticed the lack of sadness towards Sister's sashaying? Tay seemed way more focused on how fabulous she was. How else would she have misread Camp Cows as champions? Well, all I have to say to that is, you beat Sister in a lip sync. Calm down, Tace. Seriously. As Lawrence said, she's stiff competition in a lip sync, but if she keeps landing in the bottom, sooner or later, her luck's gonna run out, I'm just saying. Of course, Ahura needed congratulating, snagging her second win at all, and she took it, especially after not winning that first sewing challenge. I'm so serious. Bimini was still trying to get over Lawrence being in the bottom with Tace and Sister. So was Larry, who apparently still hadn't unclenched since the runway. Ahura was very quick to suggest that Larry stay clenched so she can get used to being in the bottom. Cheeky. Do you see what I did there? Lawrence wasn't bothered. After all, it's just Ahura. I'm not sure if Tace wanted to change the subject or was just pleased for herself, but she thought this was a great moment to cheer for making top 5. Allie thought it was a good time to see if the rest of the queens thought she deserved to be there or was taking up someone else's spot in the competition. This made me sad. Ellie's 21 and clearly has a need for approval, bless. I'm sorry that she doesn't see her being in the top 5 as proof that she should be there. I'm also sorry that she doesn't see the other queens' dismissal of her as worry that she'll outperform them. But her constantly bringing it up and asking the other queens what they think isn't going to change their opinion of her, I'm just saying. Seriously. Proof? Ahura saying she saw Ellie making top 5, but that she'd be the next to go. Say what you want about Ahura, but good, bad, or ugly, you always know where you stand with her. Bimini, on the other hand, skirted the question by pointing out that Ellie still didn't have a badge. Well, this pissed Ellie off enough to warn them all not to underestimate her. The fact that they seemed to feel that she couldn't make top 4 without a badge was making her want that badge even more. Good for Ellie, is all I'm saying. Tace, who I'm suspecting doesn't actually like confrontation for all her aggressive talk, seemed to deflect the issue of Ellie's worthiness by creating a new battleground. The Londoners versus the Scots. For freedom! And then they all got out of drag. It was a full day. The next day, the top 5 took a moment off the top to congratulate Ahura's second badge and to point out Ellie still had none. Like there was an overnight challenge she won that no one heard about. Well, this got Ellie back on her don't underestimate me train, to which I say Ellie has a point. But she is wasting her time trying to explain it to any of these queens. She needs to stay focused and let her actions speak for themselves. Seriously. Thank God Rue's video message interrupted the queens into silence. Something that interrupted me into silence was Rue showing up in a wig from the Joyce DeWitt collection with this week's mini challenge, Mask for Mask Singer. The queens had to don their best quick butch drag and give the best performance of Ru's Kitty Girl. The butchest performance would be the winner. Right away, the queens let their inner pigs out. Well, okay, maybe just Tace. And she still cocked it up, wanting to stick her sausage roll in someone's chicken steak. Is that even possible? Do chickens have steak? Ellie took an interesting approach to this challenge by going for an 80s androgyny look. Personally, there was nothing masculine about the 80s, so I was worried. I also was worried that sweet young Ellie was going to get distracted by a Horace leather officer look. Stay focused, Ellie. You got your whole life ahead of you to get laid. Seriously. Let me say this about the mini challenge. Bimini should not sing out loud. Ever. I loved Lawrence's Rosie O'Donnell impression. Ellie was channeling all sorts of Boy George Human League energy. Tace's Iggy Pop impression was impressive, and Ahura didn't look awful as a brunette. And as Ru pointed out, they really butchered that song. Ru also announced that Ellie was the winner of the mini challenge. Aww. Ahura was happy that Ellie won something. Not that it meant anything. You can just see that karma building itself up to be a bitch to Ahura, can't you? Seriously. But it made no never mind because Ru was already moved on to this week's Maxi Challenge, a stand-up comedy show celebrating love. Like stand-up comedy isn't hard enough in the first place, now the queens had to stick a theme in it as well? Well, this had some of the queens worried. Okay, mostly Tace. And to add even more pressure to the Maxi Challenge, Ru announced that this week's special guest judge would be none other than the reigning queen of British comedy, the French in French and Saunders, the OG lucky bitch herself, Dibley's favorite vicar, Dawn French. Well, now Larry was feeling the pressure too. As the queens got to work on their routines, Bimini asked Ellie if she had given any thought to the show's lineup, and boy had she. I was very impressed with Ellie's choice. If I was her, that's exactly what I would have done. Ahura has the ability to be great, but she's such a drama queen that she would lose her head over going first, and that's exactly what she did. Ellie going second secured her a place of safe at the very least, and it did. Bimini was going to be all right anywhere in that lineup, and she was, so it was down to Lawrence losing her mind over having to follow Bimini, which I thought was odd because if anyone had the right to complain, it was Tace for going last, after Lawrence and Bimini. No one was comfortable with where they landed in the lineup, so all I have to say is, job well done, Ellie, seriously. I have to say, I agree with Lawrence, though. I wish Ellie hadn't been so contrite about it all. Her being humble and apologetic took the gravitas of her choices away. Come on, Ellie, grow a pair, seriously. Then it was on to rehearsals and comedy mentoring with the hilarious Alan Carr. Ahura went first, and all I could think of when she was done was, what the hell did she say that was so bad the BBC bleeped it? Almost everything else we've heard about, but this is too vivid for color TV. I was sure it involved bodily fluids and farm animals. Whatever it was, you could see that Alan Carr was impressed, fighting that urge to laugh out loud at the vulgarity, lest he be judged. Well, it's too late, Alan, just saying. I mean, point in fact, Ellie's barking "duck, duck, duck" all across the stage and not a bleep to be heard. Mind you, neither were the laughs, bless. Bimini was next, and Alan was expecting a lot from her because he loved her Katie Price, and Bimini killed it. I was very impressed to hear that Bimini had only done stand-up twice before. So was Alan. Lawrence was next, and you could see that Alan was excited to see what she had. Didn't seem like much, I'm so serious. Let's hope Alan's advice goes a long way, seriously. Tace, as I expected, was so funny before she even got started. Tace is a natural talker and can be very funny when she's just chasing a thought, but that doesn't always translate onto a stage if you can't organize those thoughts. So, I was a little worried for Tace, I'm just saying. The next day, Lawrence was still chewing at the fat that was Ellie's lineup, which I translated into Larry having trouble writing his set the night before, and, well, she's looking for someone to blame. Needless to say, I was nervous for Larry. To distract himself as he got ready, Larry got to the bottom of Tace's and Ahura's relationship. How they met still sounds a little porny if you ask me, but they're just good friends now. Taste shared with Larry that a horrible first hookup resulted in some STDs, and that ruined his trust for a lot of people. Taste also talked about her self-esteem or lack thereof. How not getting hit on or finding a boyfriend affected how she thought the world saw her, which more than likely affected how the world saw her, bless. It was cute to see Larry and Tace bond over their lack of self-esteem. I hope they do find love after this show, or something close to it. Hell, I'll take one too if they're taking orders. And then it was on to the runway. Ru looked gorgeous in gold. Michelle Visage was beautiful in black. Alan looked lovely because, well, he just is. And then who cares who looked like what, because there she was. On Pert Buttocks Alert, the delicious Dawn French. And then it was time for the comedy show. The queens were performing in front of their peers. Empty-headed plastic shells of human beings. Sounds right. Ahura went first. She looked stunning. She was so beautiful, it was almost a shame to hear such vivid things come out of that pretty little mouth, I'm just saying. Thank God she was bleeped. I'm so serious. To be honest, I have to say I was impressed with Ahura. Stand-up is hard, and she was able to spew all that editable filth without flinching, which is why her getting tongue-tied on her "My Nan is so dumb" setup broke my heart. Up till then, I thought she'd done really well for a sailor on shore leave. Ellie was next, and she looked fabulous. How did she do? Meh. She didn't suck, although it sounded like she wanted to. I feel like Ellie was funnier by accident than on purpose. How do I know? Because the louder Ru laughs, the funnier it usually isn't. Seriously. Thank God Bimini was next, because not only did she look fantastic, she was cool, calm, and hilarious. You could just see the other girls laughing and worrying all at the same time. Lawrence was next, and she started off well, and because she's as charming as hell, she was fun to listen to, but oh, this is a queen who would do well to write out her jokes like a script and stick to them. She rambled too long. By the time she was getting to the punchlines, no one could remember what the setup was. Seriously. Last and sadly least was Tace. Thank God she looked stunning, because I needed something to distract me from her long and winding road too. Here's another queen who would do well with a script, bless. When she did start to tell a joke, she'd abandon it by saying that it was a story for another time. Did I mention she looked good? And then it was time for the runway. Category is stoned on the runway. Ahura was first, and she looked stunning for someone on a crystal transfusion, I'm just saying. Ellie was next, and she looked gorgeous, but I wish her top had something to cover her breasts, like some more fun fur or extra stones, because as it was, this top made her look like a half-naked Barbie. Just me? Bimini's runway was stunning. First off, she's never looked more like Joey Heatherton in her life. Secondly, I can't believe how beautiful her pimple stones were. And yes, Pimple Stone was my drag queen name in high school. Lawrence's Teletubby on hemorrhoids was hilarious. This look needs to be the evil villain in a Christmas panto. Am I right? Seriously. It was hilarious. Let's hope it was on purpose. And then Tace came out in what she described as a Terry Mugler-inspired android, but all I could see was Barbarella realness. Either way, it was stunning. And then it was time for the judges' critiques. Ahura was first, and everyone loved her runway. How could they not? All the judges were impressed with her confidence as the first queen out on stage for the comedy show as well. Plus, she looked gorgeous for that too. Maybe that's why she got bleeped. She was far too beautiful to have filth fall out of such a pretty face. But even Michelle struggled to keep her opinion of Ahura's performance family-friendly in light of how vulgar her performance got at times. Because so many of the judges mentioned her going first, Ru asked who picked the lineup. Of course it was Ellie. She won the mini challenge. Shows you how much Ru pays attention, I'm just saying. And then, much to Ahura's delight, Ru called Ellie a shady bitch. And then quickly followed up with a hearty, "That's how you play the game." Well, if that's not a stamp of approval on Ellie's power play, nothing is. Seriously. Speaking of LED, she was next, and although most of the judges didn't hate her act, they didn't love it either. The only thing that kept her from being too blue was following old bitch face the trash mouth, is all I'm saying. What the other judges did love, though, was her runway. Again, not too shabby, but was the outcome worth the trouble of Ellie's plan? Well, if Bimini hadn't won over all the judges by now, her answer to Ru asking her what actress she reminded Ru of did. Meryl Streep. It was a good night for Bimini indeed. Everyone loved her at comedy. Everyone loved her outfit. Clearly, Bimini was well on her way to a second badge. Seriously. Lawrence didn't suck, especially with the Dawn French seal of approval. It was just too long a walk to get to the funny. Good thing Lawrence is a natural comic, or those walks to the punchlines could still be going on, is all I'm saying. As for the hemorrhoidy goodness of her runway, it didn't make anyone itch. Taste was interesting because she didn't suck. She just wasn't funny. Her constant setup for these stories she never told drove Alan Carr to distraction, because the distraction was Tace's Barbarella realness. In fact, she was beautiful enough to distract all the judges. Back in the Untucked lounge, Ahura was seething. She was so upset with how things went with her performance. Of course she was. And she blamed Ellie and her lineup order. Of course she did. Lawrence joined right in. I found it funny that Lawrence herself said that Ellie screwed everyone up with the lineup. Everyone? So it was an even screw over? Ellie tried to sabotage everyone equally? Well, how can you be mad at that? Larry seemed particularly set upon by Ellie, but she has 3 badges. She's a shoo-in for top 3. Hell, I would have tried to throw her off her game to win myself a repeater badge too, I'm just saying. Seriously. Now, normally I don't go online to see what's what until after I've posted my review. I don't want to be influenced by other people's opinions, but someone sent me a link about Lawrence Chaney deleting her Twitter account because of online bullying with regards to her attacking Ellie in Untucked. Well, that breaks my heart. How fickle, first of all. Wasn't the whole world in love with her a week ago? Seriously. Was Larry the best version of herself this week? Absolutely not. But if I had cameras around me all day, you'd see way worse than Larry showed us, I'm so serious. As would we all, living in our glass houses, I'm sure. Just saying. Plus, this episode decides the top 4 for season 2. Talk about pressure. Like struggling through a lockdown and a global pandemic isn't pressure enough? Lawrence may be mature for her age, but she's still only 23. Most people in their 30s don't experience this kind of pressure. So, I can forgive Larry for cracking under pressure on global television. Was Ellie Diamond wrong? No, not at all. They're looking for the top 4. I'm impressed that Ellie had the balls to try it. I'm so serious. And anyone who says they wouldn't have done the same thing is a liar. Seriously. I have to say, I love Taste for not jumping in and adding her 2 cents. She seemed to be the only queen who saw what Ellie did for what it was. A power move. The only question left is, how powerful was the move? Powerful enough to rattle the cages of 2 of the heavy hitters, Ahura and Lawrence, so I'm going to say it was pretty powerful. Once again, good for you, Ellie, seriously. I was impressed with Bimini's observation that Larry and Ellie's relationship seemed to run a little deeper than just friends. I agree, there's an older, younger sisters, frenemies vibe that is starting to show, especially where Lawrence is concerned. I get it. She didn't think Ellie would throw her under the bus. Well, she was wrong, and Larry's crazy to think Ellie's the only one who'd do the same thing if they had the chance. I guess she and Ahura would have tried harder in that mini challenge because it looks like winning it wasn't as meaningless as they originally thought. Seriously. Back on the main stage, it was announced that Bimini was this week's undisputed winner. That's 2 badges for Bims. Look out, Larry! And then the shock of the evening was that it was roommates and friends Tace and Ahura in the bottom. Ellie was safe. This was an interesting lip sync to watch. If anyone was going to give Tace a run for the money, it was going to be Ahura. And if it had been to a different song, she might have. No offense to Dusty Springfield, but this ballad is a stand and deliver song. Something Tace knows way too much about. So, when the music died, I was not surprised to see, but I was very sorry to know that it was Ahura who was the 8th queen to sashay away, missing the top 4 by this much less. So, What do you think? Did Ellie's power play work out in her favor? She may not have won a badge, but she did make top 4, and she got rid of some powerful competition at the same time. What about Lawrence? Is the competition starting to get to her, or will she be able to regain her focus? Bimini seems to be coasting her way into first place, while Tace just seems to be coasting. So who's next to go? Who's gonna win it all? All we can do is tune into Drag Race UK next week to see if anything else hits the fan, and when you're done, you come on back and you see me so you and I can compare notes. Now, don't forget to like this video if you did. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and until next week, miss me! Mwah. Seriously, Jorge. So many emotions this week. Of course it's emotional. They're in their 20s, these people. I don't think you're really an adult until you're 25. I think 25, you've kind of done you've had a few chances to do a few wrong things, pull it together, and then 25, wipe the slate clean, and okay, based on what you've learned, here you go. If that were the case, all hell would break loose for people up until 24. It would not be fun, I'm just saying. I feel badly that Larry got all of that hate on Twitter. You know what, I'm gonna talk about it on my Patreon weekly watch it this week. We'll get down to the nitty gritty. Seriously.